Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Boom 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 boom. Thank you guys. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Keeper Bam. The intention of my channel is to educate suppliers around South Africa who want to penetrate the South African market in order to get their goods or services into the retail chain. So I do weekly videos where I will then, talk about, how to achieve that goal. And the reason why I've got the ability to do that is because I used to be a merchandise buyer for majority of the retailers in South Africa, which include Woolworths, Clicks, Edcon, and the Fushini Group. So today I really want to talk about a topic that is kind of close to my heart, because this is one of the videos that will also help for you to understand how the supply chain works. Okay, so today's hot topic, we're going to talk about the supply chain, where you fit into the supply chain as a retail supplier. All right, so the first thing that I want to do, I know you'll see me looking down. I promise it's not crib notes. I've just made points of things that I actually want to cover that I don't forget, because every time I do like replays, I'm like, oh, I wish I said that. Oh, I wish I said that. So I just wrote down a few points that I know I can speak to. So the first thing that I want to explain is that as a supplier in South Africa, or even in the SADC region, right? You can Google what countries are in SADC region. It's always important for you to understand the supply chain and how you fit into the supply chain as a supplier. Then after you understand how you fit into the supply chain, you need to understand how can you service the supply chain, right? So immediately when you're doing your research, when you research of what is a supply chain, how you fit in the supply chain, then it will show you if you actually have the capacity to supply that supply chain. Because the purpose of you being in the chain of supply is for you to make sure that you get your products on shelf on time, at the right place, at the right time. So I just Googled like a basic definition of what supply chain is. I found it on Google, and the definition reads: it's the sequence of processes in the production and distribution of a commodity. Okay, so it's the sequence of processes involved in the production and distribution of a commodity. So as a supplier, this to me already highlights that you are involved in both activities. Not only these two, there are way more activities that you're involved in, but these pertain to supply chain. So production and distribution. Okay. So firstly, I just want to tackle why should you as a South African based manufacturer be interested in supplying these retailers. Maybe some of you have never thought of it. You have a booming business and people know your brand, but now you're thinking of what's the next level that you can perhaps take your business. And I can tell you for certain 100%, I work very closely with the sourcing departments for all the retailers, especially Pick n Pay, Woolworths, ShopRite and Checkers. And the recurring theme they always say to me is, Kiba, I'll sit with your clients if they're from overseas. They'll sit in the meeting, but they are looking for local suppliers. And the reason for that is because they learned a big lesson when it was COVID. Okay, during the COVID, a lot of, well, if you know retail very well, a lot of these retailers get their commodities or their products from China, and you'll have a buyer who sits behind a desk and who places the orders, okay? So what happened in that instance, because the country was locked down and so was every other country in the world, this caused delays in shipments, and then shipments to be, you know, containers to be waiting in a line for weeks on weeks and weeks. So they could have packed the commodity let's say for example a week ago, but it would stand in those lines for maybe almost to 14 days trying to get the ships out to deliver to the different countries, keeping in mind that South Africa is not the only country that, you know, they're going to be delivering to. So what that highlighted for the retailers is that they need to really refocus their manufacturing strategies and to identify suppliers that are inbound. Inbound means, you know, within the region. So what then happens is that the supplier strategies changes from a higher level, and now there are, you know, buyers and sourcing departments or quality departments are now forced to look for local suppliers, because firstly, local suppliers, their production is in South Africa, and that also is a topic on its own, because once they identify you as a local supplier and you have potential and they're happy with your costs and your costings and your what do you call this? Your costings and your samples, sorry. They then are going to see if you are producing, you know, within the South African borders, or are you producing in Swaziland or Lesotho, wherever it is. Because remember, it's all about mitigating risk when you're a buyer, and you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So that's another thing that, you know, highlighted to retailers, that they need to rethink this thing of bringing everything from China, because all their eggs were in one basket. You found several departments, you know, were running low on supplies because they could have had various supplies in China, but all the Chinese suppliers were affected by the same thing, the delays in shipment. So coming back to the topic where, you know, within the supply chain, if you're thinking of growing your brand, you should consider going into retail and supplying them, because they are starving for suppliers who are local. And I can tell you for free, it's in basically almost all the commodities that you see when you walk into stores, whether it's in the clothing department or whether it's in foods or beverages or alcohol or anything. Buyers right now are really happy to work with suppliers that are within the region. And the reason for that is because your deliveries as a supplier in South Africa will get to the DC in a shorter time frame than it will be for a Chinese supplier, because I know that if your things are going to be shipped, it takes 4 weeks to ship stuff from China to South Africa, okay? So if you as a South African supplier, you know, can show that you can obviously half or even do a third of that time, that already is a bonus for them, right? So my other question that the other thing that I wrote down here that I wanted to say to you is, how do you fit into the supply chain? I think I already touched on that, and how you fit into the supply chain is in obviously the distribution and the production of the items. So, you know, if you are able to produce products that are within the right costs, within the right quality that they're looking for, and can be, you know, delivered at the right time frame, and you have the availability, you know, to cover a season, and you can show and prove that you have. And the only way you can prove that is when, you know, the retailers come to your factory and they see how many lines you have within your factory, whether you're producing apples, oranges, or you're making crisps, or you're making denims. You know, the supply chain is a very fragile beast, if I can put it in that sense, because if enough suppliers don't supply at the right time, at the right place, at the right time, you know, as a customer, then you're going to walk into stores and you're not going to find the products that you need. So a lot of parameters have been put in place by retailers to make sure that the suppliers that they onboard are suppliers that are able to commit and fulfill orders as they say, you know, as expected, you know, from them. So there's a huge amount of work that goes into onboarding suppliers. Retailers, although they are hungry for, you know, South African suppliers, they're not going to just take anyone up. But I just want you to earmark that there's a huge opportunity for yourself as a supplier in South Africa to contact these retailers and tell them, hey, yo, I'm here, I can do this. You know, if that's what you want to do in your business, of course. So I think that's where I'm going to leave it. I just want to thank you again. We have 100 subscribers. We have 100 subscribers. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, comment, and hit a like. It helps with the algorithms. Thank you guys. Bye.